You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. Well, what up, my Comic Crusaders familia? It is your boy Al Mega, and today we have a legend in the building. You know him from classics like Pretty Woman. You know him from Raiders of the Lost Ark and hardcore comic heads. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You know him as the very first live action Mr. Fantastic from the infamous 1994 Roger Corman Fantastic Four. But wait, hold on to those stretchy suits because he's back, baby, in the conversation with Marvel's brand new Fantastic Four movie. Let me tell you, he's an actor, a producer, a director, a storyteller extraordinaire, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. Alex Hyde-White.
All right.
In the house, baby. How you doing?
Oh, Mega Man, that was good, man. That was great. Thank you very much,
Mr. White. We got to bring that big weapon energy, especially when you're the first stretchy arm dude. As I was telling you back in the green room, I remember back in the 90s and 94. I was those early Comic Cons in New York, you know, and there was the video dealer back in the day selling bootleg tapes. He's like, guys, let me tell you, I wish I still had it. I lent it to one of my friends, and I think that guy still has it. Mike, I think it's you. I lent it to. I might get my tape back. But I remember I bought it. I lent it around because it was like, yo, Fantastic Four on screen. I couldn't believe it. But listen, man, we got to get into this, all right? Well, I want you to take us back, OG, first. My very first question, as always, is let us know where you're originally from and, you know, what was your very first love in all of fandom ever?
Well, I was sort of born in a trunk. I was born into a theatrical family, English family. I was born in London in January of 1959. And I lived there for the first few years of my life. My dad was a British actor, a good one, popular. And he moved to Hollywood, LA, finally, and started working there. He was a lot older. He was 30 years older than me. So, you know, I had him. I had him until he was a week shy of his 88th birthday. So I was heavily influenced. But, you know, he was Wilfred Hyde-White was his name. And he was most famous for his role in My Fair Lady, but he'd been in wonderful films, The Third Man, and did comedy films with Peter Sellers, Two-Way Stretch, and was a well-known English light. So I was no stranger to sort of oddball characters in theatrical life, which is, you know, extreme sort of episodes of their performances. It's almost like being a relief pitcher in the major leagues. You know, you better be ready to go at 10 o'clock. You know, you can do whatever you want during the day, but you know, when the curtain comes up for those 2 hours, actors sort of entered this Peter Pan-like fantasy world, and that always felt familiar to me, but I also knew the lifestyle, and so it's not like I had a burning desire to be an actor. So I lived a pretty conventional Southern California lifestyle. You know, played Little League baseball down in the desert in Palm Springs, where we grew up, and ended up playing tennis and golf. And I got through high school pretty quickly. So I was sort of thrust upon the world at age 17 in the it was 1979, 1980, roughly.
All right.
And I got lucky, and they were looking for boys to fly fighter jets for Battlestar Galactica, and my dad had a part in the pilot, and I went along to sort of be his right hand man, be his assistant, and Universal saw me, and I did a couple of auditions, and they put me under contract, and so I kind of became an actor without any, burning desire. But it was something familiar. It's sort of like I was able to swim underwater in a way, if you know what I mean. So,
I feel.
and that lifestyle appealed to me. It still did, sort of, self-discipline and sort of patience, punctuated by these wonderful experiences. These It's almost like being a mountain climber. You train all your life, but you're lucky if you have 5 or 6, 7 peaks that are pictured on the wall. And
I
I'm
feel.
lucky that I have those.
I got you. So take us back a bit over here. 'Cause what is it like being one of Hollywood's last contract players at
Yeah,
Universal
yeah,
from back in the day, too? I mean, because the
yeah.
game's changed.
Well, yeah, it had changed then. Even it was bittersweet. The people who ran the program had been there for so long that they sort of, had to keep them on. We were in the last, and it was outdated. There wasn't as much of a sort of a territorial need for that. Free
Okay.
agency had sort of come through, but it was a great opportunity for a young person to, just get a steady paycheck of, I don't know, $350 a week. And which meant I didn't have to drive a cab or didn't have to wait tables, and rent was like $300 a month.
Oh my
But
God,
yeah,
300.
yeah, it was
Bro,
nuts. And this was
you
right near
can't
the
even
King.
get a storage room for 300 nowadays.
I know, isn't that crazy? Funnily enough, the salaries haven't changed that much either. But
Ah,
you know,
you
it
ain't
was
lying.
look, just being on the lot at Universal, and feeling like you belong. But it really wasn't much of an institution. It wasn't like they had drama schools or there was training. They didn't train you to do anything. They sort of acted as your agents, and if you got a job, they made some money off you. It was an outdated business model, but I just got in. They were sort of running on fumes, but it lasted until we had an actors' strike in 1980 for 6 months, and that
Oh,
effectively
wow.
killed it. But it lasted for 2 years, and that was fine. I
Oh,
did some
what?
shows. Yeah,
Wait a minute. So they talk about that recent actor strike.
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, that
crazy,
was
huh?
insane, huh?
Yeah, the recent one
Wow.
was really nuts. We just gone through the COVID lockdown, and then we're just coming back to normal. And then we decided to, well, the leadership decided to strike rather militant like, and
But
it.
again, AI is taking
It
over.
hurt.
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of announcements of AI projects in film and comic books and this, that. I mean, as an OG, actor, creator, someone in the game, how do you feel about the prevalence of AI now and in this particular,
You know,
industry that you're in?
Mega. Here's the thing: you can't stop progress. And the actors' strike of 1980, which I was only in the game a couple of years then, and that was the fear of the video revolution. Okay, and
Video? What do you
yeah,
mean
it was video,
cassettes?
VHS video. Okay, now video
Yo.
means you can record a show and not have to pay residuals. And so, again, we were very
Oh,
reactive. We
shit.
were afraid of that. And so we went out on strike and ended up getting a video deal. And then DVD came by, and there was nothing to fear. I think the fear is that, actors, the sociology of actors is that we're an insecure people. And when you get to be leadership, you get sort of drunk with power, and you
Yeah.
might think and you might think you need to sort of be a fortune teller. How is this going to affect? How is AI going to affect a rank and file working actor? I, I mean, I don't think it is. How are you going
Well,
to
I
do?
hope not.
How are you going to duplicate the late great Robert Redford,
Oh, rest
or
in peace that we just
yeah,
lost
or
him. Oh
Jackie
my
or
gosh.
Jackie Gleason, or
Yes.
Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise? That's Tom Cruise jumping out of those planes, okay? And that's why people go to see him. And
Yes,
sure, there
it
might
is.
be some special effects and some technical things that are enhanced by AI, which can probably streamline the production. But in terms of artistic, the human element being threatened by artificial intelligence, I felt that was the leadership of our union was threatened by it, and
Yeah.
I thought it was just ridiculous timing to go on a strike that shut everything down. And it's not so much, look, we're used to being out of work, okay? We either survive or we're not. but it's the
The way you
crafts.
say that, I mean, yeah,
You know, I
the
mean, come
struggle
on.
of an actor. I've heard the
Yeah,
story,
it
and the way you
doesn't,
say that, so honest, so humble. I love
I
it.
mean, it's like actors going on strike. I mean, come on. But what it affects, it shuts down the studios. It shuts down the crafts, the prop guys. They got gripping electric trucks that they're
Yeah.
paying a lease on, and they can't work. Well, you know what? You know what? Al, they're working. Anyway,
You're
look,
hurting other people
I'm
in the
thankful
industry,
to have been
sadly.
a SAG member for 40 years, but I just don't like the politics of it sometimes.
Yeah, I get it, but hopefully things will change. So let's reel it back over here, because fans over here, at least some of us, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us, especially after your recent appearance, know you as the OG live action Reed Richards. Now, what's your maybe fondest and or wildest memory for making this Roger Corman classic?
The
And your
Fantastic
closing.
Four.
Yes, of the OG. Yeah.
I'm hearing I'm hearing every other word. But
All
you
right,
asking
I'll
me
repeat
about
the question.
to
Let
jump
me
in?
repeat the question if you hear me now. So
Yeah,
fans know
yeah,
you as the OG live action Reed Richards, right? So what I'm asking here is,
sure,
what's your
sure.
fondest and or wildest memory from making this Roger Corman classic?
Well, look, the film came out fairly decent. Was you know
I thought so.
really really surprising. I had done a couple of Roger Corman films. I don't know. I hadn't starred in one, but I played sort of. I played the Mad Mardigan character in a Willow knockoff called Time Trackers, and then I'd done
Love it.
another little thing. So I knew look. I knew Roger's studio, and they knew me, and I was thrilled when they offered me the part, and they offered it pretty quickly, pretty easily. In independent movies, even to this day, there are far fewer people who are involved in making the decision. You're not like walking into a room to meet 6 or 7 people, like on a popular TV show, because it takes that many writers. And independent film is usually driven by the writer, director, or the producer, or in this case, the studio, who needed to get it started quickly. And it came at an interesting, a really good time in my life. I was sort of starting over a bit, and
Okay.
I was in good shape. And this scene came to me. It's a very rare scene where sort of the meta of the meta of the universe, of the meta of the world,
Yeah.
and the interior of the character sort of met at the same time. And it was the scene where Reed is sort of the aha scene, where he suddenly realizes that Johnny and Susan and Ben's superpowers are really a result of their own insecurities and inhibitions,
Oh.
you know?
Okay. Like,
And it was a great scene, a lovely piece of writing from our screenwriter Craig Nebius. And in typical Reed Richards fashion, he sort of solves everyone else's problem while not really recognizing that his issue is that he's trying to look after everybody all the time. He's
exactly.
like,
That's his problem.
it's like, he's like the
Stop being
alpha
Papa Bear, mother. That's what's
yeah, the alpha father, and
Yeah.
so what does he do? He has to get his arms around everything. He has to contain everything, right?
Yeah, man. Talk about it.
And I'm a great fan of the Chekhov style. Michael Chekhov was an acting guru in the early 1900s, Stanislavski, Russian, and he talks about atmospheres. And one of the most critical atmospheres in a scene, and like a piece of music, is how do you gather the energy? And that's why great pieces of music like Stairway to Heaven, for instance, starts really small, gathers, and so you can sort of feel it become something that then goes on to sort of have its own life. And
epic, yeah.
and guys like Steve McQueen and Clint Eastwood were great practitioners of this method, and you can see it in their film technique. And this scene was all about gathering the energy, and I love that kind of stuff. And going back to my early days in and around the theater, that's what that's what a theatrical performance is all about. I mean, Elton John will come on stage or anybody, and you start very slow and humble, and you're welcoming people in. And I used to see the great Sammy Davis Jr. bring the audience in to his world, and then give them something to talk about. So I love the journey of the character. And look, they had me at hello, but the journey of the film mirrored that way. We sort of discovered what we had as we went along. And the fact that we had no alternative, and it's not like we had a tight budget, which means that you have a limited amount of film in the camera. And the fact that it came out, coherently, and it was a really nice production, good enough to sort of scare the powers that be into the fear that we'd release this movie and sort of, rain on their parade. And we've been telling that story for 35 years, and thankfully now we sort of have a coda to it. So I suppose the most surprising thing to me was that actually we got away with it, but I do think it was very character driven, and it was just the right time. Look, I was right for the part, and the part was certainly right for me at that point in my life. So, it's one of those peaks. It's my Kilimanjaro. It's one of those peaks I'm talking about. Yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was. Sadly, it wasn't something that was out there like the way it should have been. Whatever it caused. Again, we know what was happening in the 90s with Marvel.
Yeah,
the shit was going on, and sadly, this film was a catastrophe. A part of the problems that we're going through. That they had to suffer. I mean,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I wish it would have came out. I think that.
Yeah.
I think people would have loved it. So again, we didn't have this on our time. Like I feel that kids right now are so lucky. Starting from that Iron Man, John. You have no idea. Like what we went through. We were going through practical effects, and it was so difficult. I mean, but in your Fantastic Four movie, you look great. Dr. Doom looks so legit. I mean, the thing, I mean, comparable to even the thing of now, like Jack Kirby feel, like get it done. Now, when you did this, were you a fan of Fantastic Four?
Oh yeah. I mean, it wasn't like breakfast cereal for me, but I certainly knew of it. I was a fan of a kid that was this old cartoon called Johnny Quest when I was a kid.
Oh man, I know Johnny. Yeah, baby.
And to me, I liked that. There was adventure. It was Reese Banyan, so and so, and his dog Hutchie, all of that stuff, right? Woo. So I liked that. I was a Johnny Quest fan. So for me, that was the right mode. That was the right the mood. You know what I mean?
They're doing some Johnny Quest comics now again. Hanna-Barbera's dropping through Dynamite. Because that's the John.
For sure.
So I mean, everybody definitely wants to know here, right? I mean, because now it's full circle. There's a new Fantastic Four movie out there, and you got to roll in that. Like, how did it feel being asked to come back into the FF?
Yeah, well, I still do a comic book show or a con every couple of years. I live in Pensacola, Florida now. I've been here about 3 years. And there's a big called Pensacon down here in the Southeast in the Panhandle of Florida. It's a big event in February, so that's easy for me. And people were asking, hey, would you do a cameo or is Marvel going to have you? And the stock answer to that is, look, Marvel, there's no official acknowledgement that we exist, which, is kind of bull, because I did an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is their TV show. They don't control it as much. I mean, it's an ABC show, different people. They either hired me by mistake or they figured it out and said it was okay, And I think Joseph Culp, my friend who played Doom in our movie, also did. So, we weren't banished. It's not like we did anything wrong. But people said, hey, would you, you're going to be in the new Fantastic Four. And, I said, no, man, I would have known by now. And then they said, would you do it? And I go, well, if they honored it properly, for sure. But again, you never really know until things happen. And so when the call came from Grant Curtis, who was one of the producers on the movie, who was in England finishing the last couple of weeks of principal photography, and heck, this was early April.
Oh wow!
It it was like getting a call from your old college teacher to say, hey, remember that paper you did and you got a C plus on? What? We want to actually publish it now because you were really right. Thermodynamics is like happening or something, you saw the future. Okay.
Yeah,
I felt like a magician, like all of a sudden I'm Chris Angel and I've walked up the side of the pyramid or something. What? So, by the time he said, I don't even know if you would want to do this, I said, well, I'll tell you right now. Yeah, of course. And they go, well, we don't really know what it is, but there's this Walter Cronkite kind of newscaster that needs some gravitas. We know that. And I go, well, I can do that. And they go, yeah, we know you can. So they signed all four of us on, but they really didn't have much in mind. Yeah. It was more of, I think it was a corporate decision to acknowledge and to welcome us into the family, the first steps of the family. And we did an awful lot of press, and I think that'll come out now in sort of B-roll background. They welcomed us, and of course, having seen the movie a couple of times, it's absolutely wonderful. It's a different.
It is.
It's a different kind of film in a way.
It's a comic book movie, folks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's for us nerds. I mean, not everybody appreciated it from fandom. That I understand. Moviegoers.
I think they
but
might
comic
have
book
felt
fans don't get it. It's for comic fans.
I think it's easy to say, wait a minute, it's not long enough. They don't flesh out enough of the action. But when you look at the film in terms of storytelling in this modern age, when we're sort of almost used to seeing films as a second screen, we're consumed with something that's in front of us. I'm checking emails or whatnot. For them to knock this movie out, that's both futuristic and retro at the same time, is really imagination at work. And I think it's Matt Shackman. I'm sure that Kevin and his creative team had an idea of what they wanted, but Matt Shackman, the director, had done this sort of thing with WandaVision. But there's a different ingredient to this storytelling. It's not indulgent at all. So, where are they going to put Michael, Rebecca, Jay Underwood, and myself? And they're going to have four little bits. It's almost, it would have taken away from the film. So they welcomed us. They had pictures of us sort of as Easter eggs. And they invited us to the premiere, made us feel special. We got some press. And thankfully, they kept a little bit of me in there because I think they knew that I would have been pissed. Not that, after all of this, I said, what? And so sure enough, they needed a little bit of the gravitas of the ABC News anchor. And now we're sending it to Reed Richards at the Baxter Building, and that was fun to do.
Get it, baby, get it. I love it.
But, Al, they gave me nine pages of dialogue. I mean, must have given him 30 cues. They used a couple in voiceover and all that bit. But anyway, Alex Hyde-White, the OG Reed from '94, now no longer has to just tell that story about, a hard-boiled egg that we never really cracked. Now Marvel cracked it, and they let me help you serve breakfast. So
baby. I would love them to revisit even your universe in the future and see how your universe is reacting in the future. The Fantastic Four and seeing Franklin and all, seeing how it is in your universe. Listen, the potential is there now. But we're talking about writing and doing all that because again, brother, you directed, you produced, you've even written, of course. So what keeps you jumping across all these creative lanes?
Well, in over a 40-year acting career, I was fortunate enough to produce 2 independent movies, which really means that I was able to raise the money for it. And the money came to me with people who wanted to be in the business and trusted my instincts. And so that's 2 movies in over 40 years. And about almost 12, 15 years ago now, I started an audiobook production company, right when audiobooks were really taken off digital. And I started a group called Punch Audio, and Punch is my middle name. My friends call me that. And we produced over 600 audiobooks in that 12 years. So I'm going to stick with that.
Baby.
It's not as much glamour. It's not as sexy because it's no camera. but it's storytelling. It's pure
Yes, you're
storytelling.
getting story out
You
there,
know,
Poppy. You're doing the
you
right
know,
thing. You're
just
helping
like
people share
just
stories.
like StreamYard or YouTube or podcasts. These are storytelling now,
Yes.
and it's digital, providing we pay the cable bill and get an internet connection. You know, you can be in Chicopee, Massachusetts, and I'm in Pensacola, Florida. And you know, if the weather's right and we're not bouncing too much off the megasphere, we're storytelling here in a way that was not available to us, you know, when we were going on strike because of the damn video revolution in 1980, you know?
The video revolution. You hear this, folks?
You know?
That sounds
So
crazy to us
everybody, look,
nowadays.
everybody
Right?
wants, you know, when you get into show business, you know, when you get into film and TV, which is
Yeah,
very
man.
attractive because people see it and they move to Hollywood and want to do it. You
Yeah.
know, you want to be an actor, you want to be a writer, you want to be a director. And the chances of that happening, you know, maybe you can get something going. Most of the time,
Yeah.
you got to find something else.
Get
Okay.
a pat on the back. You try, Poppy or
You know,
mommy.
right?
You know, keep
Okay, and
going.
if family pressure, your family business, what? It's not easy to just get traction, not even succeed. But
You're not.
nowadays, you can still satisfy your creativity and have a life and have a business and have a job at the same time and raise a family, no matter where
Yeah.
you are,
Let me ask you,
because
Al.
and look, it's just as important. Your audience likes you. I've done a few of these things, and some of them are, you know, really quite effective. And these opportunities that we're cashing in on now, we're spreading the word, we're telling stories in micro ways. You add all of that up, and it's a guaranteed effect. And you know, in many ways, I think it's more satisfying for a greater number of people than it is as I'm going to go to Hollywood and give myself 6 years, or I'm going to go to Juilliard in New York and spend $150,000. And unless you're Robin Williams or Val Kilmer, you know, it's hard. It's hard. So I'm really thankful and amazed at what this digital universe gives us, you know. And when I get to tell a story about Fantastic Four, which is a story that's been 35 years of retread, telling the same old thing, and suddenly because of this summer, I can actually say, you know, I got to know those people at Marvel. They had me over to their Disney headquarters, and they showed me around, and they're really wonderful storytellers in the largest possible and most expensive canvas known to man, but they're doing it in the same sort of way that we're doing this, with a heart and just, you know,
Yeah.
with what, you know, clear eyes and clear hearts.
So we gotta talk about this because I'm trying to get into that lane about writing, right? Because you got something out there. You got something out there. It's even above your shoulder right now, baby.
Oh yeah,
Because you listen, writing a book is no small feat, man. So let's talk about it. What inspired you to finally sit down
yeah,
and put that Hollywood journey into words with my life and film and TV? This
yeah.
book right here, baby. I mean, you
Well,
see it above his shoulder. Look at it right there.
yeah.
And not just that. Look at him showing off that. Hey, look how sexy that book be looking right there. Hold on, where we going? Where we going? Look at that. Oh my! And it's a girthy one, folks. That is some self porn. That is. Let me see the spine. Show off that spine. Look at that. That is the girthy one, folks. That is some self porn, baby. Hey. Oh my God! In the volumes. So
In the
talk about
volume.
it.
And in the volume is a wonderful phrase. It's for digital filmmaking. The equivalent would be, "Are you in the shot?" When analog 35 millimeter film, you know, and "Catch Me If You Can" or "Pretty Woman." Okay, Alex, you're in the shot, so you know, don't pick your nose. When you're doing motion capture, if you're in the shot, you're in the volume, because it's the volume of gigabytes, the volume of information that's being absorbed, and it's limited. Even though, you know, digital film lives forever, you're limited into, you know, megabytes or gigabytes. And so if you're in the volume, you know, you're in the game. And I thought it was it's a phrase that I learned when I did a little part on Tintin, which was my third time with
On
Spielberg in
Tintin.
motion capture years
Holy
ago.
shit.
And
Hey, my man worked with Spielberg. Let me get my broom. My man dropping them names, baby. Yeah.
but
Look at
that
that.
yeah, but that's what inspired me to actually write the book, because there was a wonderful 3-day funny things happen in 3 days. You know, even in the Bible, there's references to 3 days, the resurrection, but then there's 40
Yes.
days,
Yes.
the flood, and the time between the Epiphany and Easter is 40 days. So you know, there's strength in numbers, and I've had a few 3-day jobs. Okay, small but effective, and the first one that I felt had legs, so to speak, was when I was hired to play the young Sean Connery in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade when I was like 30 years
Hey,
old, you know?
hey, check you out, little
Yeah.
young Connery. Check you out. Hey,
I was
ladies,
young
you
Henry
heard this?
Jones, right? You know, and my agents at the time saying, "What are you going to do? Why are you doing this?" And I go, "Well, because George Lucas is on the call sheet, Spielberg, and I worked with River Phoenix, God bless him, and
Oh man, rest in peace.
yeah, and it was such a wonderful experience for so many reasons. That and part of it was that it was because it was so short. It was 3 days, and so I knew the value of this story in my life. And I wrote that sort of notes and memoirs. I've never really been a take notes, remember details kind of guy. I'm more of, I would collect props or wardrobe. And then when I
Wait,
am,
did you take stuff off set? You talking?
they would give me stuff. I mean, when I was on jobs, you know.
Are you
Yeah,
sure?
yeah.
Are you sure?
You know, like Civil War coats, and I even have one of the thing heads from Fantastic Four.
No
You know,
way.
the stunt head.
Really?
Yeah, you come to
Oh, that's
Pensacon.
so cool.
It sits on my table when I'm
Oh, that's so. Oh,
when
I
I'm
can't wait.
signing
I'm going to
autographs.
Florida next year, and I got to find out when you do it. I got to see that. That's dope.
But
That's dope.
so I'd had these peak experiences. Again, I just felt that it was a great way to tell the and you know, I'd been doing it for 40 years, and then when the slowdown of 2020 to 22 came, and I was going through some storage stuff because we were starting to think about, you know, packing up Hollywood, which really means getting rid of a lot of crap. And I came across all these souvenirs, you know, playbills and newspaper articles about stuff. And
Looking back, how'd you feel? I'm pretty sure finding all
you
this
know, it
stuff
was
with your
great.
name on it.
It was great to sort of recall it, glorify it, celebrate it, but not idealize it. And it was sort of great to, in a way, move on from it. Not really get rid of it, but move on from it. It's like,
freeing,
you know,
I know.
it's time. You know, underneath the great city of London is the great Roman city of London, 10 feet below. And 10 feet below that is the Anglo-Saxon city of London. And, you know, time adds layers to things, but it's still there. And what has been there still informs and influences in an architectural way, or even in a geographical way. You can still see where the old rivers in London, for instance, are covered up because those are the streets. And sometimes while you're walking through this great city, and there's a walkway about like this big between buildings.
Right, all of a sudden, you're like, what the hell?
You know, yeah. And so I'm a great fan of that stuff. You see, I finished high school when I was 16, and I went 1 year to college at Georgetown, but that wasn't for me.
Wait, you finished at 16 because you were like,
I was a smart kid.
Brilliant.
You know,
Hey, look at this guy.
I was a smart kid. I probably annoyed the hell out of the teachers, and said, you know, I know I annoyed my parents, and so boom, I was almost banished. And I went on my own. I've been on my own ever since, and I found things that interest me, and when I find stuff that interests me, I like to absorb the knowledge, and that's what acting. When I would play characters that had a historical sense, or period characters, a young Charles Dickens, a General Burnside in the Civil War movie, the XO of Ironclads in the Civil War, or even an Olympic runner in the 1896 Olympic Games based on real guy. I would enjoy being part of that period. I would enjoy that period. And so I guess history and sociology and psychology, I think they're great motivators for an actor. You talk about creating an atmosphere like we were earlier. If it's based on history, or at least, you know, your impression of history. Look, all you're doing as an actor is you're here to translate, okay? You've got someone else's book or words or script going through your experience, and now it's yours, and then you give it to the audience. If the audience likes it, if the audience accepts it, then they say, hey, you were good in that. And what they mean is, that meant something to me as an audience. Okay. So putting down these stories in linear form, I would just go to my IMDb page and said, oh, when did I do that Quincy episode? When was that Murder, She Wrote episode? And work my way through the years. And I didn't detail everything, but there were these great memories, these great experiences that ended up being 400 pages. And I wrote it in an episode form. Instead of chapters, there are episodes, and it's separated into 5 acts of my life, traditional sort of story structure. So I'm paying homage to the wonderful industry that I am part of, but also there is a nostalgia. And, you know, I kind of came of age in the 80s and worked a lot in the 90s and 2000s, fortunately, and I'm still going. So there's a lot there, but for a fan of American pop culture as seen through the eyes of film and TV, that's why it's in the volume, My Life in Film and TV. Because it's almost a way of saying, you know, in the world, your life of film and TV, no matter where you are as an audience member, there's something there because it's about development. It's about personal growth. It's about overcoming obstacles. It's about, you know, maybe it's about denying obstacles. It's real life.
You answered my next question, because I was about to ask, like, how they revisiting your own life through writing compared to actually living in. You know, you're talking about, you know, revisiting all this and just getting even more motivated and sharing those stories. That's, woof, brother. You know, definitely. No wonder they nicknamed you Punch. You definitely bringing that gut punch to me right now. Like, whoa, my man.
It was, you know, it just felt like the right thing to do. It felt like I needed to do it for myself, not to sort of square old wounds or to right old wrongs. But it's also a way of understanding that, you know, some of the disappointments that would come as a younger actor when I didn't get parts and that I really wanted. And, you know, sometimes you attach yourself to an outcome thinking that it's going to make a big difference in your life. And usually things that you think make a big difference don't. And usually it's things that sort of sneak up on you and you back into that have most resonance. So I think what I learned is that an acceptance of reality and then basing that reality on, you know, common sense and not being hurtful. Don't complain too much. There's an old sort of philosophical saying, you know, please, you should never, ever complain about anything, especially yourself.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
you know, and that happens a lot to athletes and performers, that we complain. And when people say, you know, I don't like watching myself on screen, or
you manifest.
Yeah, you sort of do manifest that. So writing it all down was almost like a report card for me. Now I can see it's on paper.
It's a report card. Don't remind me of those. I used to be so scared of taking those home.
Yeah,
I was a good kid, but sometimes I had one bad grade or two. And you know, oh man, I grew up in a household in the 80s. You feel me? You were getting beat up because you fucked up.
Were you in Queens or Long Island?
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn, all right.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, my parents won't forgive of a bad report.
Yeah, well, look, everybody in show business is from Queens. Hell, my grandparents lived in Jackson Heights, and my mom went to Forest Hills High School.
But bro, I grew up next to Silver Cup Studios. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that, because that's also in Astoria. It's Brooklyn also in Greenpoint, though. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we filmed Ishtar, which was one of the worst movies ever made at Astoria Studios. And, you know, they called it rat shit spelled backwards. And then now it's a classic. Now Marty Scorsese says it's one of the funniest comedies of its time. And that's absolutely true. It was funny then. It's just, it just politically and
it didn't hit the mark. That's what happened at the time.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, folks. Let me say something. I just want to share this real quick. You know, because I also want to show up your website, folks.
Thank you.
Look how dope this is. You got this book on Kindle right now for the low price of just $3.99, baby.
Wow.
You feel me? But of course, if you want a hardcover, you know, or you want a paperback, the hardcover starting at $42.95.
Yeah.
You want that self-pouring. I'm a self-pouring man. I love to dress up myself with good-looking books. So this is definitely one of those books that will definitely dress up yourself and make you look sexy, baby. Well, you know, hey, yeah. You know.
Well, that's cool, man. Thanks. That's cool. If, you know, anybody who you know, buys the book, enjoys it, leaves me a review, and if they want, we'll send you on me an autographed picture from Fantastic Four, one of the
You hear this?
OG photos that I still have from
Ooh.
Roger Corman days. You know, you just drop a
Oh
line
my
to the
God.
website saying you like the book and give me an address, and we'll send you a nice picture.
Listen, that link is right there. So make sure you get that book,
Thank you.
leave a review, and show that love. And y'all got gonna get blessed, all right? And then
Thanks,
my
man.
man also got a website. No, absolutely, man. You here. You give me your time. Because here we are. That's your appearance. You know, the Ted Gilbert show that introduced you to be that Walter Cronkite character. Hilarious. I mean, I watched the movie. I loved it. And
That
look
right
at my
there.
dude right there, son.
Let me tell you what that is. That, you know, I'm not going to lift a still from the movie. I'm not going to go into the movie and take a picture. That is a still from Comic-Con at San Diego, where
Oh,
where Kevin Feige, through his producers and my agent, asked if I would do sort of some public service
no
announcements,
way.
like, you know, word is that Yancey Street is the place to be, where Ben Grimm will be throwing a Volkswagen, you know, stuff like that. And
Oh, cool.
they threw that in the day I was filming, and there's like, you know, and a friend of mine was at Comic-Con, and sure enough, so they sent me that photo, and that's the photo I'm using on the website, because
I love it.
that's me in the movie, but that's actually from
Yeah, man.
Comic-Con.
I dig it. Did you not go to Comic Con, man? Come on,
No, man.
Alex.
You know,
You
we
got
did. We went to Comic-Con
to
in
start going.
90. I think we went to Comic-Con in 93 to promote the old movie. But it was, you know, it was like held in a Denny's coffee shop compared to where it is now.
But listen, I do want to talk about something here. You know, again, we're talking all this Fantastic Four and all stuff. We also got to talk about how fantastic you are, because my man, you actually won a pretty nice award right here, Best Actor for the Walker and the Breaking TV. I mean, bro,
Yeah, in
what?
London. Yeah.
Grandpa, how was that? How did that feel, man? Again, with your career and all, winning a Best Actor type role over here, what's going on,
Well, you
son?
know, that was great, and it wouldn't have happened. It was a lovely short film, that half an hour movie that Pensacola filmmakers, a talented group down here, they met me at Pensacon the first year I was here, I think in 22, and the next summer they had this script of a short movie that they needed me to make it happen for them, and
All right.
it turned out to be great, and it got into this lovely new festival in London, ended up winning an award for me, and so I was back in. They had me out in London to celebrate, and I got to
Hey,
rekindle. I started my career as a young actor in England, in playing a couple leads in movies and TV
full
shows.
circle, baby. Look at
Yeah,
that.
and so exactly, you know, and that talk about this nutty sort of philosophy, uh, leaving Hollywood, coming to Pensacola, doing this short movie and going back to England where I started. I guess next up for me is another movie at Astoria Studios or something. You know,
Man, and this time it'll
it's
be a banger.
it's crazy. You know, yeah,
And this time will
yeah.
be great. But I mean, look at my homie over here doing your thing, doing your roles. You got them awards, smashing the game, bro. And look at you over here as a young back in the day, man. I mean, and this, I mean, how that suit feel back in the day? Was it like a spandex type of suit?
Oh yeah, that's Pretty
How that?
Woman. That's Nope. And there's the picture. There's a picture that I'll send you all from Fantastic Four.
Oh, nice. Look at this,
That
bro.
one
This
with
is so dope. But bro, you got to hang out with Julia Roberts, dude. What? How, bro? I mean, and this is in her
yeah, she
heyday
was great.
too, man. All right, be
Or
honest.
just yeah, she was really just
Be honest? Did you
she
try to
became a
pimp?
star in that movie.
Did you try to pimp on her? You know, make some moves.
No, no, man, there were already a couple people in front of me on that one.
He said, he said, I read the room. I was like, all right, I'm good. My man. But that's dope, man. You've been involved in so many things. And this is, again, like, people need to be aware, bro. You get legends, you know, Roger Corman, you
You
know,
know, I mean,
Gary
look,
Marshall, Spielberg. Hey, bro.
if you're a
Crazy.
fan of movies, pop culture, comic books, and you know, you just dig deep enough, and sort of like I'm saying, if you go below the surface of the modern day, with all the stars and all the celebrities, and these stupid award shows, and you look at stuff, you dig down, you might find I'm down there, and once you find me, I'm a pathway to a lot of other interesting things that happened.
Wait a minute.
That,
are you gonna be the new 7 Degrees? You know, no more Kevin Bacon. It's gonna be Alex Hyde-White. 7 Degrees, Alex Hyde-White. No.
You know, it's not a bad idea. 6 degrees of punch separation. Yeah, I know, huh? Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, I'm not that good.
Stop it.
I didn't.
How dare you?
I wasn't that good when I was younger, and most of these guys that are stars were really good when they were younger. And I think it's almost because I grew up in it that I didn't sort of understand how good you needed to be. But I learned to become good at it, and I'm at a point. Well, you know, probably 20 years ago, I got to a point in my life and career where it didn't matter whether I thought I was any good or not, and it never does. And you asked me earlier what I've learned writing. That it really doesn't matter what you think of yourself. You're probably wrong.
All right. So 2 more questions here. Actually 3. First one here is now. This is it. This is your moment. I'm gonna bring this baby back up on the screen. I need you to give me the quick elevator pitch. I need you to give me the elevator pitch as to why people need to pick up this book today.
Hold on.
I need the elevator pitch as to why everybody needs to buy this book
thunderstorms
today.
And pitch.
Yes, there are.
My elevator pitch for In the Volume. It's a love letter to Hollywood at one of its most prolific times, when films became blockbusters, and when blockbusters became sequels, and in between that is a sort of story highlighted with my performance as Reed Richards of a story of one particular story that would never go away, and that bears relevance, I think, to the sort of the hero's journey, or the journey that we're all on when we are living sort of a normal life, and we hope we don't get discouraged. We try to challenge our creative impulse and how to satisfy one's creativity, and so it's an inspiration. It's an inspiration to my audience, and by extension, the audience that's out there, to indulge your creativity, because it might end up making a difference.
All right, and then, are you going to be making any?
Did you get any of that?
Yes. Now, are we going to
Good.
any appearances at any cons?
Pensacon in February of 2026. I'm shooting a nice little independent movie in January in Ohio, a Christmas movie, and I hope to be at the Sundance Film Festival again, which is going to be the last festival started by the late great Robert Redford, who we remembered a while ago. So I enjoy that. I'm going to be at Sundance in January, hopefully, and then Pensacon in February. And there's might be another con in the summer, but I don't do too many of those. But I know I'm going to be at Pensacon in February.
And then, of course, any words of motivation and advice to the next generation of potential creators out there and actors?
Next generation?
Yes.
You're asking me to...
any words of advice to the next generation?
Say again? Yeah, you don't have to. It's geographically, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in Los Angeles. You don't have to be in New York. Huh?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm just saying, yes, encouragement for the next generation.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to write stories about yourself. If you don't want to be that honest about it, then set them in a time and place that you enjoy. Write about what you enjoy. Don't wait to write about what you know. Write about what you enjoy. And when you write, please understand the power of clear thought, logic. The world is dumbing down right before our very eyes. And if someone can create coherent thoughts, lay them out logically, then you don't have to revolutionize the world with your ideology or your great prowess. Understand the power of simplicity. When Clint Eastwood would act when he was younger, when Paul Newman would act, when Steve McQueen would act, when Russell Crowe would act, not pyrotechnics. By sort of slowing down, you tap in to a universality with the human race, to speak kind of out of my pay grade. But we all share so much in common. It's not a world of haves and have-nots. It's not a world of stars and supporting players. It's a world about storytelling, and every life that's born starts a story. And we all have the ability now, whether it's somebody like yourself in a microphone or people like I met here in Pensacola, who are very good writers, very good producers. They found their path. But when you're going to do it with common sense, do it with simplicity, and do it with kindness to others, and also respect your work. When you find you're on a film set, if you happen to be on a film set, even if it's a little short movie and you're just helping with props or whatnot, don't fill your time telling stories. Just be there. Take it in. That's what I did as a young fella, and it ended up being 40 years worth of stories and 400 pages in a book that I never would have been able to do had I not taken all of that in. So a funny sort of way, and I'll finish with a great use of opposites, which again is a wonderful technique for an actor. If you're coming home drunk in a scene, as soon as you walk in the door, you've made it home. Don't act drunk. That's your moment of sobriety. That moment of understanding, recognition, and relief that you're home underscores and underlines the fact that you were just driving drunk and have no memory. Okay, so the use of opposites. Sometimes, in order to express an emotion effectively, or just express a feeling effectively in the spoken word or the written word, you have to let it impress itself on you. You have to take it in order to give it out. And I think a great mistake that a lot of young actors make, and I know I did, is I didn't take it in as much. I took in the experience, but I really didn't take in the power of the work. When it came around, I'd been doing it for 10 or 12 years, and that part really, really just gave me a path to internalize it. And I came out of it the other end, and here we are, still waxing poetic about it in a successful way 35 years later. And I never would have thought that happened. But the power of understanding. Let the world, let people impress themselves on you. Don't be quick to throw up boundaries. Don't be quick to argue. Because if you're a writer or if you're a communicator, you have the ability to write your phrases. You have the ability to communicate your message. And that's what will last. And sometimes the fight is what makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely does, man. But hopefully, in that fight, we don't lose our lives over it. But with that, yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for your time,
All right,
your
man.
energy. You rock. Folks, please buy this book. Let me show you that cover as a reminder, because you guys you saw it, it's a sexy looking cover. Let me bring it. Where's my media?
Hey, come on.
Over here. You guys can be moving. So you see that cover, you get that today.
Hey, man, that's cool.
The link is right there. All right. So go to Amazon, and you heard him. If you leave a review, he's gonna bless you with a nice sexy pic from way back when, from that flick, the OG. I mean, so Fantastic Four. All right. I mean, before Pedro, there was Alex, baby. All right. You better recognize
Punch.
Yeah. Punch. Big old punch over here.
Hey, punch,
So thank you again. Huepa,
right,
right, familia. Alex Hyde-White dropped gems like infinity stones today. So from the legendary days of the Corman cut to stepping back into Marvel's brand new Fantastic Four, this man shows us what staying relevant in Hollywood is all about. So a huge thanks again for stretching time with us today, no pun intended. And remember, Crusaders, whether you're in comics, movies, or life, all right, just keep this in mind right here. Stay defiant, stay creative, and always keep reaching further. This is Al Mega signing off. Wepa, we out, baby.
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.